Okay, so a Joker à deux. No, Joker Folie à deux. Folie à deux. Right? Directed by Todd Phillips. He co-wrote the film with Scott Silver. Right? It was then produced by Todd Phillips. Right? Emma Tillinger Koskoff. Joseph Garner. It is executive produced by Pete Chippetta, Mark Friedberg, Georgia Cacandez, Andrew Larry, Jason Rudder, Scott Silver, Anthony Titungero, and Michael E. Uslan. It's co-produced by David Webb and Justin Conte. Hilde Goodnatotitia was on the music, Lawrence Scher, cinematography, Jeff Groff edits the piece. Casting was handled by Francine Masler. Mark Friedberg was production design. Art direction, we have Jared Patrick Gerbig, Erica Hoof, David Meyer, Sidine Ponick, Gordon Stutz, and Dan Webster. Karen O'Hara, set decoration. Costume design, we have Ariana Phillips. Our casting, right? Our cast, even. Obviously, Joaquin Phoenix is back as Arthur Fleck. Right? We have Lady Gaga playing Lee Quinzel. Jackie Sullivan is played by Brendan Gleeson. Mariana Stewart is played by Catherine Keener. Right? Zazie Beetz is back as Sophie DeMont. Paddy Myers is played by Steve Coogan. Harry Larity is Harvey Dent. Gary Puddles is again played by Lee Gill. Right? Dr. Victor Liu is played by Ken Long. Ricky Moline is played by Jacob Laughlin. Judge Herman Rothwax is played by Bill Smitheridge. Deborah Kane is played by Sharon Washington. Ernie Bullock is played by Alfred Ruben Thompson. The music teacher is played by Greg Daniels. Right. We got Arkham guards played by Mac Brandt, George Carroll, John Lacey, Tim Dillon. Like Dr. Louise Beatty is played by June Carroll. Some of the inmates played by Tony Wilson, Jimmy Walker Jr., Terrence T.P. Polite, Aggie Kirkland, Troy Fromin, Wayne DeHart, Connor Story. Right? I think that's probably our main lot of people. The gist of the story: struggling with his dual identity, failed comedian Arthur Fleck meets the love of his life, Harley Quinn, while incarcerated at Arkham State Hospital. So yeah, that's it. Now, the Harley Quinn thing is kind of confusing, right? It is kind of confusing because it's like we get Harleen Quinzel, but we're introduced to her as Lee. So it's just like, is it Harley Quinn? Is it her? What is her actual name? You know what I mean? But Yeah, I mean, like the original Joker was meant to be standalone, right? It was mad successful. So obviously, when things become mad successful, right, there's always the talk of extending the thing, right? Bringing more story when maybe there wasn't. With Joker, we have this walk through the grey, right? This exploration of how someone could have become this thing. And that was so interesting, right? It was so interesting. So with this one, there's an intrigue, right? There's an intrigue. How do you build upon what was already there? Like you're introducing this character that's a big part of Joker's life, right? A big part of his story, Harley Quinn. So it's how will that work in this universe that isn't so much suits and capes, right? There's a psychology to it. We open up with a cartoon, which is an interesting, I kind of feel like an interesting exploration into a split personality, you know? That was interesting. And there's this scene when we, go into the live action. There's a scene with, Arthur walking and these colored umbrellas from this aerial shot, and then he's looking up, and it's like, oh, it's a really striking scene. There are a few of these really striking moments. Like about an hour in, there's this courtroom kind of scene with the Joker. It's dark and moody, and it's lit. Oh man, it's lit so well, right? It's really the camera movement, everything like that. It's a great scene. It really is. It is ruined by the singing. I hated the singing. The singing was irritating, right? All of that was just, for me, it was annoying. It was annoying. And I wouldn't necessarily mind the singing, but I kind of feel the singing should have been more chaotic, right? I think that would have really fit this twisted, split personality, right? This dueling convergence of Arthur and Joker. Like maybe you can have some good singing and then chaotic, some craziness, some off tune, you know what I mean? Mess. And that might not have been as pleasant to the ear, but I think it would have really helped capture the essence of what this was. You know what I mean? Like, it's, I don't know. It's an interesting film, I kind of think, because there is this deconstruction and creation going on to a certain extent. But I think from this deep exploration that we got in the first film, this one feels a lot shallower, right? This one feels like we're just kind of playing in the surface level of everything. Because there are things like with the guards, the brutality with the guards isn't really taken anywhere. But you feel it could have been used within court. Like you feel that like there's things the Joker from the first film would have said about it. But it's just a little, no, it's baffling, right? Then we have Lee, and there are things, right? Like, I'd say, like, there's certain elements when you first, were first introduced and all of this that you're just like, huh? Now, they can be, I guess, played away by some of the things we learn, but it still felt like a lot is left on the table. You know what I mean? Like, there was more to this all that we never explore. You know? Like, there seems to be missed opportunities, which, that might sound like an arrogant thing to say, because, what I might view as missed opportunities, I'm sure Todd Phillips and Scott Silver felt was a fully fleshed out, complete story, right? And so it's just one of those things where it's, people's interpretation of what it is, like we have, oh my God, at the very beginning, we see Arthur walking without a top on, and like you're seeing the bones and just like it invokes kind of visions of The Machinist, right? Remember that one with Batman in it? And that was brutal, right? Watching the way he transformed his body. Now it's kind of like you just think, so did Phoenix actually do that, or was that a CGI effect? I don't know, but it doesn't really seem to be part of this story, because you think that is something that's gonna fuck with the psyche, right? This emancipation, like, how does that twist what has already been twisted? Solitary confinement, what does that do to a man? There are these things floating around that don't really go anywhere. I thought Phoenix was very good, right? This portrayal, this, this continuation, because it's that balance, right? And I think we do get that from the performance. I thought Lady Gaga was okay, but again, we don't really explore the character that well. So, it just feels like we are tiptoeing around a hurricane, right? Like, we're not really getting into the eye of it to really see what the fuck this is. And that's a bit of a problem for the full enjoyment of this film, right? It did feel like it could have been shorter, because we're not fully just getting into things. It's about 2 hours and 15 minutes, and I think 90. Like, we could have jettisoned some of the stuff, because it, overall it didn't really add to this. And the ending is interesting in this creationist kind of viewpoint, right? There's not a lot you can really say without spoiling. So I feel that's all I can say on that front. But there is a flatness to it. Like, there is a flatness to it. And there's also this whole thing of what's actually happening in this Arkham asylum. Because there are times when things go down and you just think, how could that actually go down with all these guards? Right? Now, because we don't get a full kind of like, the guards are letting the inmates do what the fuck they want, as long as it doesn't impact them too hardly. We don't really get that vibe, but that might be the vibe, right? So, yeah, I kind of think Joker Folie Deux is interesting, but it's that interest that you're kind of like, but you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't invoke the emotion of the first film. It doesn't make you go, oh, I wonder. Like, let's explore this more. You're just kind of like, this makes you a little ambivalent to it all, you know? Like, I think tonally, right, and visually, it's moody, it's dark, right? And that plays well into it. But, yeah, then you have these weird musical numbers, which just, I didn't care about. I just didn't care about. So, yeah, it just leaves me flat. Just leaves me fat. Now, I guess it's one of those things. Do you enjoy a musical? If you enjoy a musical, maybe you're going to get something different out of it. Right? Maybe you will. I think we could have gone deeper with the psychology. You know? Again, as I said, there's a deconstruction creationist vibe, right? Which is interesting. But I think it feels like we're tiptoeing here rather than taking these bold, broad strides, you know, which the first film seemed to do. So, yeah, you know, did we need the sequel after watching it? I don't know if we did, but that's just my take, baby. That's just my take. Be interesting to know what you think. So maybe, you know, hit up the comments. Let me know your vibe, right? Joker Folie Deux, you know, could have been Joker Nom de Plume, right? But yeah, a bit of a fizzle rather than a bang, I'm afraid. But there you go, people. Joker Folie Deux.